Good evening, and welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Live, the talk show premiere that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the indigenous one. There's a whole lot of stuff going on that's different that try to knock us off, or what people are starting to realize tonight or today. You see that this government is in all kind of turmoil. All the lies and all the bullshit is starting to really catch up with them. And this is a cool time for us to learn because we've been told a lot of stuff. And when you ask a person to explain what they're talking about, they never can. That's how you know they bullshit. I don't care who tells you anything. Ask them to explain it as if you were a 5 or 6 year old, like that Denzel Washington movie. You don't understand. And we don't. These people tell you dates. Their dates don't add up to your dates. They don't number years the way you number years or you used to. Since you've moved away from yourself, you don't know what to do. You take what he tells you to do and you do it and you take what he says and tries to affix it to your phenomenon. It won't work. That's like you trying to be an ant or a roach. It won't work. So that's where we are now with the so-called African American Black Negro. This information is coming out, and these youth are asking, "Yeah, well, who are we? Where do we come from?" Because everybody wants to do that, but of course, the Negro, he don't care. Wherever boss tell him he come from, that's where he come from, and everything he does. Tonight, we're going to take a different twist on this. Many of you have maybe heard about the Tartaria and what's going on with Tartaria. I'm one, don't know nothing about it. I've heard about it, thought it was interesting. Rabel says she has some information on it, so she's going to share it with you tonight. Rabel, it's all yours, love.
Okay. First of all, I want to just tell you, Carrie, you know how I feel about you. Um, you know that I just want to thank you for everything you've done because you're a superb guy. I just want to tell you that. But the first thing I want to talk about, and a lot of
You're
people
so
was
sweet. Isn't that? See, all right. If I, isn't that how we supposed to be towards each other? Aren't we supposed to help each other out? Aren't we to make sure that no one makes a mistake? Aren't we supposed to do that?
yeah,
Then why the fuck ain't we doing it?
yeah.
Damn. I want to see if you win, I win.
Thank you.
I don't understand how we don't see that shit. But anyway, go ahead. I'm gonna be quiet.
So no, it's okay. First of all, I want to just break down something before I start because a lot of people were saying that the Tartars they call Tartar, they call Tartarians, it's all the same thing. And one thing I want to break down is people were saying that they were Russians. You are correct. They were. It was a union. We were unified. What we go through now is not it's not normal. What they have put in front of us is not normal. We have a history beyond what they have told us. Our story don't start with the slave trade, and the slave trade never happened, and we understand that. But I want to read something out the book when you talk about the Russians and how it was in Russia. You are correct because everything was connected. Remember when Sarah Palin, when she said she could see Russia from her house, and people thought it was funny and they laughed at her, but she was telling the truth. Russia is closer than what you think it is, but they tell you that this is a far off place, and it's really not. But I want to read this first because a lot of people were saying that the Tartarians was Russians. So this is why I want to read this paragraph first, because the only thing they did, they got their sovereignty in 1992. In 1990, they applied for their sovereignty to be separated from the Soviet Union, from that government, because they still remembered who they were. Some of them still remembered who they were. We are the ones who don't know who we are, and we were the hub of it all. That's why they call us the sleeping giant. And I'll explain that more, but I want to read this paragraph first, and then you will understand what I'm saying. Okay, on August 30th, 1990, the Tartarstans announced its sovereignty with the Declaration on the State Sovereignty of the Tartar Soviet Socialist Republic. In in 1992, the Tatarstan held a um, referendum on the new constitution. 24 and 62% of those who took part voted in favor of the constitution. In the 1992, the Tatarstan constitution, the Tatarstan is defined as the sovereign state of Russia. So when you talk about that, they was established. They're sovereign now. We are the ones that have not done that. We are the ones that still is, when you sign a birth certificate, you basically signing up. I'm sorry, I have to keep pushing it because people is talking while I'm trying to do this. But when you sign the birth certificate, you basically signing your way in the United States corporation. When you sign that birth certificate, and I'm going to start off, and I'm going to read a paragraph from the front. Let's see. Hold on one second. I want to read this because it talks about how a lot of stuff was shooted. And we believe that's just like when it comes to the presidents. I want to read this and then I'm going to say something. And I just want you to use critical thinking. This is the reason why they never taught us critical thinking in school. Because to teach us critical thinking, it'll be easier for us to break down the games that they're playing with us. Everything was whitewashed. But it says, those who are truthers have understood that the NWA, meaning the NWO, meaning the New World Order, has had the ability to alter images or Photoshop for decades and decades. And I want you to just think about something. Okay. The first president was George Washington. And I believe he became the president in 1787. The first president was John Hanson, but he's not talked about. But George Washington, they say, was the first president. So we're going to go with him. And he was the president in 1787. Okay. Then you go down to James Monroe, and he was the fifth president. And he was able to go to Liberia. He was able to go to Liberia and purchase land in Liberia. That's why Morovia is named after him. Now, indigenous people, we wasn't doing that, but he was able to do that. Now let's go to the 16th president, which is Abraham Lincoln, which everybody know that he was a melanated man. I believe everybody do know he was a melanated man. So if you look at that, the Bacon Rebellion, it took place in 1667. The Bacon Rebellion is when they say that we became slaves. They separated the white from the black. I'm just going to say it how they said it. The white from the black. And we're not black. We copper tone. We indigenous. We already know that. But they separated us. And we became inferior. Became superior. This was in 1667. So how did a melanated man in 1881 become president of the United States, and he was melanated if we was all in slavery? And we never think on this level because they just gave us a lot of stuff and they hoped it stuck. This is how they have dealt with us. So, you have to think about that. How did he become president? Have you ever thought about that, Carrie, about how did that happen? If the Bacon Rebellion happened in 1667, how did he become president in 1861?
Well, it's like what you said when you first started. They say anything. And the problem is, whatever they shoot out, we swallow all the time. So it's like, when you pull up the money and Negroes are on the money, how are you on the money if you were taking a cruise from Africa over here? The Negro never knows. I know Nobody told me. I mean, they just tell us anything. And you can tell with it, we never think about it from our point of view. We always do it from their point of view, which is why we're in the condition that we're in now. Everything, and I'm not saying everybody. There's a lot of people out there really looking at, life in the way it's given to them, not how they wish it would be. You know what I'm saying? So a lot, especially a lot of youth, because we see a lot of these elders that just went along to go along to get along, and they left us with this shit that we have now. Didn't teach us nothing, always gave us the bullshit. That's why we're here now. So the information that we do get from the few people that are putting it out, we should be on full tilt right now as a nation of people. We
Yeah.
should be on full tilt. And we, dude, I mean, damn. So it's like you saying, no, we don't do no critical. We don't later for critical thinking. Negroes don't think at all.
No. Yeah. So let me just break down how the Tartarians went. We was the hub, the United States. It was 7 states, or if you want to call them continents, you can. It was North America, South America. It was Asia. It was Africa. It was Australia, Europe, and the Antarctic. And you know the Antarctic, they say that it's uninhabited. Nobody is there. This is what they say. Okay, so when it came to the Tartarians, when you see a lot of these cathedrals that you see built, that was ours. And what they did, the reason the Tartarians, they've been dissolved since about 100 years ago, a century ago. But they were here. That's why you notice how they did us. Like a lot of our people is up underwater. They came over here and basically slaughtered our people. And we fought a war with them, but they slaughtered our people. And I'm gonna have to read some stuff from here, Carrie, so they get a better understanding. I'm gonna have to read it. That's just like they say back in 2004, Google decided to digitalize every single book they could find and then replace hard covered books with online books on Kindle, as in kindling a fire, aka book burning. Thus, they could effectively alter and control any digital books. This is the reason why you notice that a lot of libraries, I mean, not a lot of libraries, but a lot of bookstores got closed up. And we didn't understand what they were doing. They are, to this day, they're still trying to alter and hide who you are, because they're not going to tell you who you are, regardless of all of us coming out. They're not going to tell you who you are. You have to dig and you have to find who you are. We are of royalty. We're not, when they tell us that we was nothing but slaves, that was to break us down. That was to give us low self-esteem. This is why we act the way we act. And we always holding out our hand for a handout. And we think that we can't do anything because the people who they got put in front of us, they're puppets. The melanated people that's in front of us, they're puppets. They're never there to help you. They're there to hinder you. They're gatekeepers. That's just like, you have to look at it this way. You look at all of these billionaires and millionaires. We got billionaires. But yet, why is it when we hungry, we still got to go to this government to ask for food? Why is it we have no banks? Why is it we have no schools of our own? People play around and they want to collect donations, but you don't see the schools being built. Because when they sign that contract with the boule or whomever, they tell them to never help you. And they come in front of you with the finest of clothes, but they're nothing but mannequins, because they can never help you. We should never have to go to any pale man. We should never have to go to them for anything. And I'm going to say this too while I'm talking. I'm not telling you to marry no white man. I'm not telling you to marry no white woman. I'm not telling you to be in union and we need to collaborate with white people. That's not what I'm saying. But one thing we have to understand, that this is an inside job. I get that. Oh, it's a lot of white people and they doing us dirty, but our own kind is doing us dirty too, because it had to be an inside job for them to do what they did. And to look, one thing, look at it this way: go to any melanated person, and 95% of the time, ask them to help you out. That's in a position, and you're gonna see they're not gonna help you out. Why do we still have to go to these white folks? And that's why you hear a lot of people say, I had to go to a white person to get this, and I had to go to a white person and to get that. Because these melanated people is designed never to help you. When they go to these schools, and I'm going to get on the Tartaria, but I need to say this: when they go to these schools, they get the ones that can comprehend, that they feel is the smartest, and take them away from you, and then throw you back in the hood. They'll give them just enough, but they're not gonna. When they die, most of them die broke and they die poor. They can't even buy their mama a house. Most of them, So we have to look at it in that aspect, because if we don't look at it in that aspect, 20 years from now, we'll still be in the same predicament. We'll still be in the same predicament because the melanated people that they put in front of us, their mind is already programmed, and it's not programmed to help us. you know. So I want to start off by talking about they claim that Nikola Tesla, he was the one who tapped into the ether. And what the ether is just terrestrial, it's just supernatural powers. And if you look at like the if when you look at the churches, these different, okay, take for instance, look at the White House, or you look at these cathedrals that was built. That's yours. That's your stuff. But what they did is, like those cathedrals, some of those was castles and people lived in them. Some of those was just buildings where we met at. We was highly advanced people, but they would never tell you that. They want you to believe that, oh, you was a slave and you was dumb and stupid. In 8th grade, I learned that I was a slave from a social studies teacher. It was a white man that told me that I was a slave. I had never heard it before until 8th grade. But what Nikola Tesla, this was a white man, and like I say, everything have been whitewashed. So they claim that he tapped into the ether. And how we live, like you look at electricity, we didn't pay electricity. We didn't even work. It was like a paradise here. And we were all connected. And this is why they have to keep us in America. They have to keep us down. But even in our while we down, everybody still want to come and see us because they know who we are. We don't know who we are. So let me read. Hold on one second. I'm gonna read. Okay. It says Nikola Tesla. The story goes that Nikola Tesla had discovered the technology to connect to the ether and provide unlimited power to everyone, anywhere, at any time. And we all know that he's not the one, but they always had to put a white face on it. This is why you can go, like, if you go to these cathedrals and stuff like that, you notice why TD Jakes and Creflo Dollar, people like that got these mega churches, they don't allow them to go near them, because within those cathedrals they had power plants where they had, that's just like if you, back in the day, we had them albums, and they took away them albums because we were being healed from them. Okay, that's the same thing as this power. Those cathedrals, the reason why the Vatican is in all of them, the Catholic churches in all of them churches, that's to hide the power. Don't you know the power still work in those cathedrals? Those old cathedrals you see. The power, that's why you notice like a lot of these condemned buildings, they still got electricity. They did this to us, for one, to not only distract us, but to make us sick and to turn us into slaves. Us, we always worried about bills. Back then, they didn't worry about bills. When you go to the airport and you see that little thing, it's like you can put your suitcase on it and you can stand on it and it just slides and it gets you to where you got to go. Do you know what I'm talking about, Carrie?
Oh
Don't
yeah.
you know in the 1800s they had that? So When that's just like the mounds over here. The reason why they covered it with dirt, because we had vibrations and frequencies to heal us. The reason why we so sick right now is because number one, the sewage. What they say when the Tartarians was around, it was no, they had no sewage. The reason why we're sick like we are is number one, all the bills that we pay. Number two, the sewage. Don't you know when you go to the bathroom, they bleach that water out and give it right back to you with all the medicine in it, everything in it, they give it right back to you. And it makes our body sick. That's why a lot of us is sick like we are. And we don't know what's going on. Then, let me finish reading. Okay. History tells us that the power stations, and they were called power stations. History tells us that the power stations were first established. I don't want to read because I don't believe that. It is, I'm going to go down here. It is the largest, and oh, no, I don't want to read that shit. Hold on one second. Okay, all Tartarians power stations, small and large, had pipe organs to harmonize and heal the population through sound waves. And see, that should ring a bell because when you had them albums back in the day, remember that little, I remember that because I'm a 70s baby. So when you had the when what's the Earth, Wind and Fire and people like that was out. When they was out and that you would play that music, Marvin Gaye, people I can't think of a lot of them, but I know some of them because my
but
auntie
more
used
than
to play
that,
them.
with those, you said something about they were using a different kind of energy, and that's what you're talking about with the albums. Yeah, the artists were off the hook, but
Yeah,
the needle on that vinyl, man, that sound. And if you guys haven't heard that, just put a needle on a record and
yeah,
listen to that sound, man. It'll heal you right there.
yeah. hmm And it was like it was sound waves, and it say what is now known as chromatics. The church and the cathedral we see throughout the world all share similar design patterns that were designed with sacred geometry to maximize vibration tone and to heal and help download higher consciousness. See, this is what they did to you. They demoted you of who you are. And after they demoted you from who you are, they told you you was a slave. Now, I don't know if anybody know about the carnivals that was taking place in the 1800s, and I don't know if anybody know about the carnival. They had like carnivals. It was kind of like carnivals that was taking place. It was like the reset. And what they went around doing, Chicago was built just like Rome is built. That's how Chicago was built, and other places was built. They went from city to city after when they destroyed us and killed our elders. The reason why we got amnesia right now is because they have separated the adults from the children. And when they killed off the adults, as harsh as it sounds, because how else could they have this much power over us? You know what? When you read a book, you have to you have to take the meat, spit out the bones. Some stuff, I'm not going there. I'm not, you're not going to go there. But I know when something resonates with me. How did they get this much power unless they killed off our elders? And I had heard that before, but I was like, I didn't believe it. But they killed off a lot of them, and then they got the children and they indoctrinated them. That's why the Rothschilds and the Rockefeller is who came up with the public school system. And that was to turn you into slaves. That was to indoctrinate you and turn you into a slave. And that's why most of us that go to school, that's on this platform or listening to this, most of us was dropouts because they would constantly tell us that, oh, we were slaves, we got to go to college. Well, the person who invented the college didn't go to college. So why do we have to go to college? And it's to the point now, all the education that we have, you can go to school for 6 months and make double what I'm making. These young children. So it's like they dumbed us down and turned us into who we are today. That's what they did. And a lot of people, that's why, and also with all of the medicine they give you, that's just like what I'm saying. A lot of people can't comprehend it. And a lot of people, they done gotten so comfortable with this government and the handouts, they don't want to even touch it.
Rebel, why do you think that is? With all this information out, I mean, you can actually look with your own eyes off your front step and see the shitty state of the world. Are we just ignoring it or what? What do you think about that?
You know what? I I think we ignore. I think people know. It's people that know, but the problem is that it's so many of us. We are sell out. We've been, our self esteem is so low that we'll accept anything. That's just like when all of us was preaching when they was giving a jab, and all of us was saying don't take it, and you remember the Tuskegee. Look at how many people overlooked that and still did it. They still did it, didn't even care. They still did it. And and the Tuskegee is a true story, but they didn't care anything about that. They just went on ahead and they just took the shot. It's like, and a lot of our people is sellouts. A lot of our people is straight sellouts. And what you saying, okay, that's just like we see this government is falling. We see this with our own eyes. Do you really think that, and a lot of us, we have been in tune, we have been enlightened. Do you really think the universe gonna hand over America to us the way we are right now? Look at us right now. A lot of us, okay, they didn't gotten comfortable with the indigenous thing, but they still trying to still place us still in Africa. You know, they still trying to place us there, and it's been proven that we don't come from there. But they still want to say, okay, you indigenous, but you went back to Africa, then you came over here on a boat, on the bottom of a boat.
Yeah, that recent who's the chick they just made Supreme Court justice? I had this sister call me up and she was like, "Nah, nah, look, we're a Supreme Court justice." And I just can't be soft with the Negro no more. They just done gotten too dumb. I said, "Ma'am, do you realize that your grandmother prayed for your mother and you to be in that seat, but you let a foreigner come over here and take it, and you're cheering her on?" I mean, this is the African American's mind.
Yeah.
This is the African like, huh? How you know? You can't look at her. I ask brothers, uh, you can't smell the difference between women from other countries. You have senses. You can't pick it up. You can't hear what they sound like. They don't sound like your mama, sisters, grandma, the African American. I don't see it like that. I mean, really, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So you're right. And this is one of the questions that I ask everybody. What percentage do you think these modern day Negroes, blacks, African Americans, Hebrew Israelites, whatever you want to call them, shit, that's all of them. That they have no connection to the earth. They have no connection to the ether that you're talking about. They have no condition, they have no connection to the sounds that you're talking about, what they say Tesla done. What percentage of the people do you think are in that position
In what condition? Say that again.
where they don't, they have no connection to the earth? They don't
Oh,
even listen, they don't even listen to what's coming to them. They have wearing baseball caps all the time. They're wearing weaves all the time. They're not connected to they have nothing to do with nature. What percentage of the people do you think that is? Just by
that's,
your every, I know you're in a one spot, but
it's
seeing
about, okay, okay. I think, okay, for example, all the people we deal with, we don't deal with our next door neighbor. A lot of us don't deal with our next door neighbors. The whole community we don't deal with. We have to get on the internet to find people like us.
Right.
So I could say it's about 85%.
Okay.
I think it's about 85% that's not connected because
Eh,
you okay, that's just like in every family. It's only one person that's woke up, maybe two, but I
Right.
know it ain't three. I ain't met nobody that got three, but it might be two though. And the second one is halfway woke. It's one that's fully woke, then the second one is kind of woke. You can talk to them.
Right.
That's normally how it is. So I want to read this too. They then, we can only surmise that the entire Tartarian people were destroyed when the NWO New World Order learned how to use the Tartarian technology and use it to destroy the entire culture and erase their existence from modern history books today. And this is erased from history. This is erased from history. You can't even find it. You have to really dig and look in order to find this. And this is part of the missing puzzle, the missing pieces to the puzzle. Because why is it in our weakness? Because we're weak right now. In our handicapness, everybody still admire and want to be us, want to be around us, want to be like us. And they can be from a far country and they want to be like us. And people don't pick up on that, you know. Hold on, let me keep going. Okay. Let me read this. Okay. The invaders invented the heliocentral model in. No, I don't need to read that. Okay. To be able to recreate the history of humanity and erase traces of their recent crime and destruction of the great civilization of the Tartarians. To be very clear, Tartarians was the whole world with a unified language and design. How could the many pyramids found all over the world incorporate the same thought and design if the Tartarians was not all connected somehow? And it's pyramids in Russia. See, they only talk about the pyramids over here, and they talk about the pyramids in Africa. But they have found pyramids in Asia, in China, and Russia, and it's the same design. And see, that's why I tell people I'm not telling you to get with you. We're unifying with anybody because at this point in time, we don't need to unify with anybody but ourselves. So anybody talking about unifying, I'm not that one because we cannot do it at this point because we have a lot of enemies. And what they're trying to do now, the Moors that was in Europe, and I'm going to say this because I've had a lot of people when I did this video, and then I talked about the Blackamoors. They were saying that I'm trying to separate, but that's just like what you talked about the woman that just went to the Supreme Court. Did she make it there? I don't know.
Sorry about that. Yeah, she's down for that pedophile shit. So they let her on. She's
Oh,
she's
okay.
it's so dumb. That whole government. I don't see why the people haven't taken over their government and start governing themselves. You know, we
Exactly.
don't we don't even see that's an option.
Yeah.
Govern yourself. You still sending your kids to public school after they made an ass of you? Really?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. The African American, you can forget them. They're done. They'll do whatever. Um, you see where this government is taking you. Everything turn the boys into girls, girls into boys, all that. That's to decimate the population. The fastest way to decimate the population is not have no babies.
Mm-hmm.
And we're cheering it on like it's an
Yeah.
honor to do.
Yeah. And the thing about it, they don't see, the problem is they don't want us to recognize. They want us to clearly just look at white folks. They want us to look at these pale folks and nobody else. But we have to look at everything. That's just like a lot of people have been breaking down the boule. These people is not our friend. When I talked about the Moors in Europe, they came over here and they was fighting us too. It wasn't only white people fighting us. And that's something that we need to understand. It was melanated people over there, and they try their best to hide it so you don't know the truth. Because they have to, the narrative that they have created, they have to keep you on that frame of mind so they can keep on elevating themselves. And now that people, they can no longer contain us because a lot of us is highly intelligent. So they can't contain us anymore. And even though that's just like the Titanic. The Titanic, they were still playing the music while it was going down. And that's what they're doing now. They still want you to believe that they have all this power. But if they had all this power, look at all of us, they shadow banned in our channels, but you ain't came and got us yet. But you got all this power though, right? So you have to think about that.
So
Okay.
let me just, before you go on, let me just hit this guy because, we always got a chance, how we look at things can confuse a whole nation of people just when we're out there speaking. And, we have a guy that put in a chat, blacks were not Tartars in North America. So this is what I mean, Trivium 17. This is how we stay confused. Who are the blacks? You've never seen one black person in your life, yet you call yourself black. When you're not, you just calling yourself dead. And then you transfer it over to us and try to call all of us that. That ain't working here, homie. You can take that somewhere else, dude. And this is how we stay confused.
Yes.
Because you're talking shit that doesn't have nothing to do with us. So, dude, just keep that in mind when you're talking. Say who your people were. If your people were Tallapoosa, say that. They weren't black. You got people who you call black out now will slap the shit out of you if you call them that because they realize that you're saying they're nothing. You don't know that. Find out. Okay, go ahead, Rabel. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That comment right there. The reason why a lot of people say that is because when they had the carnival, when they went around blowing up our buildings so they can cover up after when they killed off our ancestors, they began to blow up our buildings in America. And they left some them cathedrals you see in them hospitals, they left them, but they blew up everything else. And those cathedrals you see, they cannot build them. They cannot be, they was built by our people. And there's a lot of power in those buildings. This is why the Catholic priests have those buildings. And my thing is they think that it's only in Russia. It's just that they got their sovereignty, and we didn't do that. That's the only difference. That's just like they talk about the horse and buggy. Let me read this. We were sold that horse and buggies were the primary vehicle to haul stones and bricks from coral quarries to build the incredible edify scene in this book. The construction of towers as tall as 47 stories was erected without any found engineering plane design planes and had statues lightning in elegant details by common workers who in many cases in the West had just arrived in those cities. So basically we had it was like we had buildings 47 stories tall, but they claim a horse and carriage built all of this. How could that be? This is why they had to destroy everything. This is why they went around with that carnival. It was called the reset. And it was a carnival, and they was blowing up building, and they kept blowing up our stuff and dropping bombs on us. That's why it was easy for them. I don't know if you heard of the moves when they came and dropped bombs on them. They was used to doing that to us. Just like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Roswell. They was used to lighting our shit on fire and blowing it up. This is what they did to us to cover up who we really was. How can you have a horse and carriage and you build all these buildings? They had to take us back because we are advanced people. This is why when you come out your mother's womb, they start injecting you with shots to slow you down. And now you notice you got 12-year-old melanated people in college because we were very advanced people. But they're not going to tell us that because they want us to believe that we were slaves. So they had to set the narrative that you believed you was a slave. And they did a good job of it because they blew up everything. We had statues that were so tall with that was solid gold. We had vehicles that ran on air. We had trains that ran on air. But this is not talked about. And they slowly give you your stuff back. They slowly give it back to you because they want you to believe that you are that slave and you stupid and you dumb, but they know you're not. They know you're not dumb, but they have to tell you that. So you believe that you're nothing. You know, um, let me keep going. I won't be before you too long. Okay, I already read that. Let me see. I want to make sure I don't forget nothing important. Okay. Now, listen to this. The Native American descendants. I know you know we're not Native, but this is how he said it. Descendants was possessed with an extraordinary divine spirit by which they foretold future events, and that this was transmitted to their offspring, provided they obey the sacred laws annexed to it. And even like with me, and when I read this, it rung a bell because I remember with me and how I used to have visions. And when I went to my pastor told me that was a devil. That's what he told. No, don't, no, don't listen to that. That's a devil. That's until he kicked, and then he kicked me out the church. But it's like we are divine people and we're powerful people, but they don't want us to know that. And they covered up our mouths and stuff like that because we would go there and we would get healed, and we were sacred people, and they took all of that from us. And just imagine, they look at us and white people know the truth, and some melanated people know the truth, and just imagine them looking at you and looking at you like you are now. They don't look at us with the same eyes because we was brought so low. you know we was brought very low. And hold on one second, I got some. Hold on one second.
Why you
And I want to
why
talk
you getting
about.
that? Why you get? Are you? Oh, you ready? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to share something because you brought up something, and I just want to share it. And this is what I mean about how we look at ourselves. This is very important, very important because you always hear when we're explaining ourselves, we always calling ourselves black, which anybody who is alive know that anything black has to be moved by something else. It doesn't move on its own. It doesn't think on its own. So these terms that we use to describe ourselves, it really puts us at a disadvantage. So I just wanted to show this picture right here because when she talks about energy, you have energy fields. And the energy field, you have those energy fields by the way your hair stands up on your arms, by the way you hear stuff, by the way you look at stuff. And we're just focused on what we look like. And we're way more than that, what Rabel said. We're part of this environment. We're like a leaf on a tree. We just don't see stuff. We just don't taste stuff. We just don't feel stuff. We use all of that together to figure out what's going on around us, to figure out where we are. A lot of us, we only use one sight. Oh, that look good. Oh, that tastes good. And so when you get in it, when you start talking to other people, so if you start listening to people like Rabel and she's saying stuff, try not to just see, try not to just hear, try to get a try to encompass all those qualities that you have within yourself to try to listen to what she's saying, because a lot of what she's saying, she she's saying a whole bunch of stuff. It may be stuff that you never heard before, but she's saying a whole lot of stuff that you have to get. It's like this one person in the chat said black people weren't, Tartar. She's not saying that. She's just telling you know how it goes on in one part of the world, what was going on here, who was these people here, how did all this stuff get here, what they said they built. She's giving you the nuggets. So we got to look at it for more than just looking at what somebody told us, and listen and pay close attention to what she's saying. Okay, Rabel, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, and thank you so much. Um, I want to talk about the um the um the Aztecs and the Olmecs, and we all know that those are our people. We all know this. Now that's just like the name Olmec. They don't know those people name, but the people, the scientists that found those 21 heads in Mesoamerica. They called them Olmecs. So even like Tartarians, it may be down the road that may have not been their name, but I know that we were advanced people. And I want to show you something. See, when you look at that TV, they give us our stuff right back to us, but they give it to us in a way where it destroys us better than we laugh at some of the stuff we see, and you don't even know they got that from you. That's just like the Aztecs, which is our people. And they made it seem as though, when they came out with the Simpsons, they made it seem as though they made those people up. I think I can show y'all this. I hope y'all can see it. I don't know, Carrie, if you have a picture of this, but I hope I can. Let me see where my hand is at. If you look where my hand is at, those was Aztecs people, and these are your people. But if you look at the Simpsons favor these people. See, they take your stuff. In the Aztecs, they was very powerful people. They was one of the first. Above, I know the Admac, the Almacs was before them, but they was one of the first. But they use all of your stuff and they put it on TV, and they want you to laugh about it, but it's your shit. They giving you your stuff back to you, but they're using it in a way where it don't benefit you, it benefits them. You know. Um, Let me show you. And I talked about the vibrate. They even had a center like when it came to animals. They even healed animals. Even the way we eat. We're not supposed to eat no 3 meals a day. We eat 3 meals a day. And you notice people that eat like that, they begin to look like the animal that they eat. You ever seen a big person? They really look like the animal that they eat. But they also had that's just like when people suffer from depression and stuff like that. They also had sound waves even to heal that. This is why we didn't have, like, the highest rate of suicide, and I don't know if it's a lie. They say it's the melanated man have the highest rate of suicide. Now, I don't know if that's true or not because they do lie. But I was shocked to hear that because we didn't need that's just like their medication. Everybody was at peace. What destroyed us is when we got conquered. We did get conquered. That's what destroyed us. When they made us, when they indoctrinated us and they turned us into something that we're not. That's why a lot of us, we go through depression. A lot of us don't have nobody to talk. We didn't have that. We didn't have that when we was on top. We didn't have stuff like we didn't have to take medication for depression. We didn't have to take Ativan. but we have forgotten how to even heal our bodies. How did a people live past 100, 200, to the point we only live into 50? They got it all the way down to 50. And people don't, we just fortunate. People like us, we're fortunate to be healthy. But the average person is not healthy. And I work in the healthcare field, and it's melanated people have all kind of health issues because when they took over, then they had to destroy you. They had to destroy you physically in order to get you to where they at. How is it that melanated women back in the day, we didn't age like we age now? Even the young children look older because of the frequency that's out here. They let them take drugs and all kind of stuff. The only thing we dealt with was tobacco and weed. That been around. That's not new. But they want to say it's new. That's not something that's new because that was our stuff. So let me keep going because I know, Carrie, you just got off of work. So these buildings, if you look at these buildings, this was ours and they blew a lot of them up. The state fair when they went around, and can you see that, Carrie? Hold on. Can you see this? Can you see those buildings? Oh, your mic is off. Your mic is off.
I say, yeah, I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. And I've seen those buildings around, and they're made in such a way. You're like, how are we to believe that people came over here out of jail? These people were out of British prisons, and they came over and did all this artwork. And then when you see a whole bunch of this stuff being built, you're right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I went downtown. I went downtown the other day, and I saw one of the buildings. And unless you know about this, you wouldn't even think like that. That's just like when I was a Pan African, and they told me that those steeples you saw on the building was the melanated man phallus. I believe that. I believe that till I found out those was the power plants where that we were getting like them cathedrals, and you see that steep. Those was like power plants to heal people. It'll be a certain vibration that comes out, and that's not talked about because we're told that you know they built them buildings. All them cathedrals you see, most of our buildings was built like that. And why is it right today, like the electricity was free? Why is it that you got homes, small homes, that's damn near tore down, but the lights are still working? Been sitting there for 40 years and the lights are still working. Don't pay your light bill in 1 month. The next month you better have them candles ready because you're gonna need them. Because they gonna turn your stuff off. But how is a house sitting there for 40 years? 40 years, and you mean to tell me they ain't turned off the light at all? And there's many of them out there. But this is not talked about. Because they did a quick job. This is why a lot of your people is up underwater. You can't find them right today. They was building dams to wash out cities and stuff. They was trying to just cover up everything because they didn't want you to know your importance. And in order for us to grow, we have to know where we came from. And we have to get out of this slave narrative. Because if we keep talking about the slave narrative, then when do we start building? When they tell us that we wasn't able to read and write, if we keep that frame of mind, we're gonna always think we cannot take care of ourselves because this is how they make us feel. From when we born, we got to sit up and go to school from 5 years old to 18 years old, and they teach us absolutely nothing. They don't they don't teach us farming. They don't teach us banking. They don't teach us financing. They don't teach us that was the reason why the Rothschilds put so much money, billions of dollars in the school system. You know, they had to do that in order to break us down. And the reason why I want to talk about this because we already know that we are indigenous. We know that they cannot say we're not. But when are we going to start building? When are we going to get out of this mindset that we need another ethnic group to be with us to build? When are we going to get out of that? And this is why, and a lot of people, that's just like Carrie, when you came out and started talking, saying that we were indigenous. I was a Pan African at the time. A lot of people cussed you out, all kind of stuff. But look at them now. Now they jocking you. Now they want to ask you questions. The same as me. You know, when I found out the truth, I was like, this man was not lying. That's the same thing as stuff like this. It's going to be hard for us to grasp it because they done covered up so much of our stuff. So when I say stuff like this, you look at me like, no, you talking out the side of your head. The same way they did you, Carrie.
You know what, where it takes a long time, because this is and there's no excuse for it, because I'm sure, like you said, they had these Boule Negroes telling us this stuff a long time ago. But this whole Africa thing, a lot of people think it started in 1988. It didn't. It started way before that. And it started, remember, all they use is foreigners to trick you, foreigners that look like you. So check this out. Now check, I just found this out. So you ever heard of a baseball player named Jackie Robinson?
Yeah.
See, this is what they use these people to influence you. Do you know Jackie Robinson, Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier? Now, Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte is from the islands, right? And don't get me wrong, the islands are a part of America. But if you look at what's going on in them islands at the time, they were trying to scurry over here because them people down in the islands was dogging them out because it wasn't a lot of land and they wanted that land for themselves. So when they bring these people over, and I can name 1,000 of them that's from the Caribbean that came over and just tricked and dogged your ass out. You don't want to talk about it because they your brothers, you married them, you had babies by them, all that stuff. But check out how deep this goes. When they brought them brothers over here, Sidney Poitier, Farrakhan, all them cats, they put together a consortium and bought Barack Obama's father over here. So the story goes. So when they're pulling all these people over, see, I can't go over to Trinidad and Tobago and tell them about their history. I can't go over there and tell them shit. I can't go over to Africa and tell them nothing about their history because they know that I'm not from there. You know what the Negro does here? The Negro tell anybody can tell the Negro who he is. And we'll believe it and we'll run through it forever. So that African story started in the early late 50s. This is when they was doing this stuff. They don't do stuff overnight because you'll pick it up. They do this, 30, 40, 50 years to get a point across to you. And in the 80s, that's when it all culminated. Nobody questioned why are you calling us black, but now you calling us African American? The Negro didn't do that. He just, yes, boss, whatever you say. So these people work on your mind a long time. And what this sister's saying, many of y'all won't get it 40, 50 years down the road. She's telling you to look another way. You've been trained to do something. That's all you know how to do. If boss say it, I do it, boss. That's how the African American works 85% of the time. So, like what you saying, I mean, damn, you hitting the nail on it. You're saying what's happening, what's going on in real life. We're seeing that. I'm seeing exactly what you're saying. And one more thing that's important. Do we think that Tartarians call themselves Tartarians? No. They spoke a whole nother language if they existed. You think the indigenous people here spoke this language that would no. You think the indigenous people call themselves black? And we can't seem to let it go. This is how we stay stuck, and it becomes impossible for us to build.
Mhm. Yes, that's true. And you know what? We have to, like I just said, and like you just said, we have to get out of the mindset that we these struggling people. That's what I'm getting at. Look at yourself. My thing is, look at yourself and look at the certain things that you do. Look at the children now, how they wearing their hair like the Aztecs wore their hair. Look, just nothing have changed. It's just that they indoctrinated us to believe something that was never true about us. And now that we're coming out and we're talking against it, it's going to be a lot of melanated people that's not feeling it because they don't want to change. They don't want to go with they don't want to change. They comfortable with the life that they live in. They comfortable with all these diseases that we have now. They comfortable with doctors lying to them, cutting them open, and ain't nothing wrong with them. We had power plants to heal your body. And what they did is they did everything in reverse when it comes to slavery, when it comes to the buildings that you see that they didn't blow up. It's like they changed everything around. A lot of these old schools was your buildings. A lot of these hospitals was your buildings. And you have to look at everything they did it in reverse, so you would never find out who you are. And it's gonna be some people, even me saying this and on your platform, which is a big platform, even me coming on your platform, it's gonna be some people that's gonna be against what I'm saying, because we always have to think that we these low people that have never amounted to nothing. We had railroads that ran on air. We had cars that ran on air. We had this stuff, but we had trains that's still running. They still use some of the Tartarian stuff. Those trains and roads you see, I thought they had built this stuff. No, that was our stuff. We was modern people. Everything you see, they're giving you your stuff back, but they're giving it back to you slowly. We had wireless connections even back then, but they don't want to tell us this. They have to keep us dumbed down at a low frequency. Frequency have to do with your consciousness of how high it is or how low it is. We're not weak people, and I want the reason why I wanted to come on here and do this, Carrie, because I want people to understand. Raise your vibration. We all the stuff, the Tesla, that wasn't the first car that ran on electricity. We had cars that ran on thin air. Now they're raping the land. The blood, that is the life. Even like if everybody took the blood, if they took me and took my vein, opened it up, and my blood started dripping, I'm gonna die. That's how this earth is. So they rape the earth, and you got to go to a gas station to get oil to put in your car. That was it was they capitalizing off of your stupidity. Even like you going to the hospital and you go there for Tylenol. They give you one Tylenol and he examine you and you owe them $3,000. How the hell? How could that be? You damn! Just tell me to go buy the Tylenol. You know what I'm saying? But see,
Get me my
they do
money.
this on purpose. They do. That's why a lot of us is so stressed out. A lot of us is stressed out, and stress leads to death and all kind of stuff. We worked on farms. We worked on our farms, our land. They put us in apartment complexes. Took all. I'm sorry. Took all of our land, put us on in apartment complexes. We thought we was doing something when we had that $1 rent, not knowing they done took all our damn land. We didn't have bills like we have now, but they always have to keep your mind going in a certain direction, so you can't get to the point of where I'm at, or you can't get to the point of where Carrie at, or other. Like, I'm not a scholar, and please, I'm not saying that, but like scholars like Carrie and other people, you can't get to that point.
Excuse me, I'm not a scholar. Yeah, I just look at stuff on how it is,
Okay.
and I think about it. I'm no scholar. I think scholars are assholes. They,
Okay.
they don't scholar nothing. They're just titles that don't. Hey, and they call Dr. Ben a scholar, and he wrote books that won't teach you how to get out of a paper bag. This is what I'm saying. We use that. This is the Negro. We use terms that we try to sound smart, but we're really dumb. What's a scholar? The world is going down the toilet now. What scholar has made sure that doesn't happen? It's not that. We all are part of this. We all are part. We're all leaves on a tree. We're all roots on a tree. We all have something to offer. But we, like you said, we've been dumbed down. It's ridiculous. We should fucking be ashamed of ourselves. We have been dumbed down, and we cool with it.
Yeah.
We don't seem to think there's a problem with it. We think we can just watch TV and watch the game, and we do that for 50, 60, 70 years and don't teach the kids nothing. So, at scholar, all these big words we try to use to describe people. No, I'm just a grain of sand, just like everybody else. But damn, this. Oh, so check this out. It's like the sister, like I was saying earlier. This sister that became this Supreme Court justice. Can you imagine all the mothers and grandmothers who prayed and for their daughters to be president or Supreme Court justice? And one that is not even you, is not even your mother's children, is some foreigner, and you're jumping up and down for it.
That's sad.
Yeah, come on, y'all. Damn. Come on, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? And my thing is, and I told you when we first met 2 years ago, Carrie, I hung with them. They very envious of us. They very envious of us. And one thing we don't understand, how we over here and we're fighting. This is how deep it is. That's why the Moors was able to come over here and fight us and do all kind of stuff. I was friends with an Etria. She's Etria. That's like Ethiopia, you know. And she told me she was dating an American man, a melanated American man. So she started talking to me, and she say, you know how y'all fight with white people? She said, well, it's not like that in Africa. We fight with one another. We fight with one another. It's about color when it comes to us. And you notice in America, you have to look at it. We don't touch our skin. You very seldom see a melanated woman put some bleaching cream on her skin. But in Africa, it's prevalent. It's a lot of people that do it over there. They'll even take they natural skin off to be light skinned. And what had happened is she had she was in there working a lot. And I asked, I said, why are you in here like this? And she told me, she was like, well, you know how you all fight with white people? No, we fight with our own kind. They had kidnapped one of her relatives, her niece. They had to raise the money, $20,000 to get the girl back. She said, guess where my family had to go and drop the money off at? I said, where? She said they went to a bank and they had to deposit the money in a bank. She said, you know, when they come over here, we think that those are the Africans. That's no, no, they more ruthless than we are. And then they try to hide behind. They're not like us. Our mindset, we're wild, we're warriors. You touch one of us, if the whole family in there, and you come to that house, you get jumped on by everybody in that house. You know, that's how we roll. We're wild people. So what they did is they told us this story about a white man coming up in a melanated person's house and raping the mama and the sisters. I just can't believe that. It maybe it happened on certain incident, but I just the way we are now. Why we not like that now? We quick to fight them. You know, I know we have a lot of sellouts, but we quick to fight them. We don't take no mess from them. But they told us this story, and then they used that television to make us so afraid of them. You know, when they showed the movies in the eighth grade, when I found out that I was a slave, when I found it out in eighth grade, the type of movies that came on, them hanging us and burning us for all this crazy mess, that was to play on our mind. Not only was they using the school system in the church, they was using the TV too. So when we got 18 years old, we was conditioned, most of us. So that's why you see a lot of people, they want to fight against us because we were conditioned. You know, one more thing I want to touch on, and Gary, we can always come back and we can elaborate on it more too. But one more thing I want to touch on, and it talk about giants. And you notice how you go to a lot of these old buildings and the doors is real huge. And I used to always wonder why the doors, I've been to places like that and I didn't understand why the doors were so huge. And I just want to read this and then we can, you know, we can I can come back and I can go over more if you want to. But I just want to read this. The U.S. Supreme Court ruling has forced the Smithsonian Smithsonian Institution to release classified papers dating from the early 1900s that proves the organization was involved in a major historical cover-up. The cover-up destroyed evidence showing giant human remains in the tens of thousands had been uncovered all across America. And you know the Smithsonian's was ours. They took it from us. That was ours too. And then they talk about when they talk about Mesoamerica and they talk about those big heads, the weight of them was 1 ton to 5 tons. And they wanted to know, see, they can't the stuff that's in this book, they can never tell you this stuff. They can never tell you this stuff. And they was like, how was they moving these heads around like furniture? Because they was moving them around like furniture. Because it was giant people. Even it was giant people on the earth. And they don't want us, they have to keep certain stuff. They don't want us to know certain stuff because it'll enlighten us more. Because how somebody like my size or your size, and you claim all we had was a horse and carriage, was moving all of this stuff. Even if they use machinery, you still needed a person of a certain statue. I
So,
would think.
so do you think those like basketball players and these really tall people are offshoots from the giants that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Because they said that they were like from 8 feet to like 12 feet, 13 feet. They was tall people. And they said and they also had like vibrations for your statue too. They covered a lot of our stuff up, put dirt on it, so it would never help us. That's why you can stick your feet in the soil and it can heal your body. Right in America, you can stick your feet, take off your shoes, and just put your feet in the soil. See, we don't do that no more. I remember my auntie, I remember she used to tell us when it rained, go put on your swimsuit. And we would play in the rain. We would be out there playing and it felt good. I love the rain. To this day, I love rain. And see, that's something that was taken from us. That's why we're in the predicament we're in. And for us to get out of it, the only thing I'm saying is for us to get out of it, we have to go back to who we really were. We have to change our diet because that's what's killing us. It's our diet. A lot of us, it's our diet. They tell us to eat all kind. They don't care. They tell us to eat all kind of food. We don't have our gardens no more like we used to have. Cause my auntie had a garden. The berry trees that was all over, those are gone. Cause they was in my auntie backyard. This is stuff. If you was born before 1983, you would know this. Like, but after a lot of stuff, they don't know. This is why to get rid of people like me, you, and other people, it would be an advantage to them because those people don't know about what we know about, what we saw. They don't know.
Well, Rebel, thank you. I mean, because I mean, it fills a lot. A lot of what you talked about tonight fills a lot of holes that we don't get. And so when you look at stuff from another, like you were saying, Tartaria, so it had to be some connection here because Russia's so close, and some of the things that we're doing, you know, how they describe that world over there. What do we think was going on over here? And if we're always calling ourselves Africans, Hebrews, Moors, anything but here, we don't even connect to the people here. And then we have the audacity to teach our kids that they some foreign character. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you. You know what, Carrie? I always tell you how I feel about you.
I feel about you the same way because
Sorry.
you're one of the
Always, hello?
sisters. Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I'm,
Can
can
you
you
hear
hear
me?
me? Okay. I just want to tell you thank you. And you already know how I feel about you. I thank you for everything you have done for me. I thank you. And thank you for allowing me to get on your platform. Can you hear me? Thank you for allowing me to get on your platform like you do. And you just let me say what I say and I thank you for that.
Baby, that's how we supposed to do each other. We're always supposed to be trying to help each other and pull each other up and all that. We're getting back to that. So we'll see you next time, Rebel. I know you can't hear me. And to the chat, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, getting this information. Hopefully, you got something out of it. Remember, what other people tell you you are, they just trying to get to who you are. See, they're not telling you, don't let nobody else tell you who you are. What do your people tell you who you are? What do the friends of the family tell you who you are? What do your great grandparents tell you who they are? I know most of you guys had to do genealogy. You got to. So if you out a party somewhere and you got to take a shit, your bowels move. What you got on, what kind of lipstick you got on, what kind of top hat you got on, none of that shit matter. It's what's going on inside of you that matters. Who you are. Keep that in mind because you have a lot of people coming over here now. You have some of your historically black colleges ready to train these Ukrainians coming over here and won't even train their own children into anything. So keep these things in mind, what the information we're trying to get. And if any of you have information that can help us, figure out stuff and put stuff together, please contact me. You can hit me at indigenous64@gmail.com. Dude, we can't go out like this. I know many of you comfortable with it, but a lot of us see now we can't go out like this. What would your grandmama say? What would your grandfather say to see us acting like this now? Remember, you're going to be in their positions one day real soon. So I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time. Peace.